What is up, YouTube? This is the Upstart Goblin here, and today I got a video for you guys on the new pack configurations. I know I haven't put up a video in quite a while, but we got some really big news from Konami as far as how the new booster packs are going to work from now on. So without further ado, I'll get started into that. This is actually from the Konami official release. I'll read the bottom first, that's more important. They're changing the way they do the packs. In every 9-card pack, you'll now get 1 foil, a rare, and 7 commons, and that's you're going to be super, ultra, or secret. So they are totally getting rid of ultimates and ghosts and main set boosters. The ultra or secret will replace the super, and then the numbers we'll get into later. But ghost rares and ultimate rares are basically out of the game for now. The ultimate rares are still going to have in the astral packs or whatever follows the astral packs. Because they did, I don't have the screenshot of it, but they did hint at something like Astral Packs are going to be replaced with Arc V coming out. But they are keeping the same number of secrets, ultras, and supers per main set booster. So then they put a timeline here of when this is going to start. So October 2nd, we have High Speed Riders, which is actually a smaller set. It's only a 60 card set. And I'm going off memory here, but I think it's 5 secrets, 6 ultras, and I want to say 10 supers. So a box of that, you'll pretty much be able to get everything under this new system. Well, within a couple boxes, you can get the whole set, which is something we haven't had in a really long time. Dimension of Chaos in November is actually going to still use the old system, but in January we have Breakers of Shadow, which is the set following Dimension of Chaos. And that's when we'll be over the new system. I thought it was pretty interesting that there's only going to be about 2 months between those packs, because normally main set boosters have about a 3-month radius on either side for when they're released, so that's interesting to note. But then I started comparing the configurations of the old way to do it to the new way to do it. So in the old system, you'd get a rare in every pack. That was pretty standard. In every 5 packs, you'd also get a super rare. Every 12, you'd also get an ultra rare. Every 23, a secret rare. And I'm approximating this one because they don't really actually release this information, but an ultimate's about 1 in 20 packs. I'm not saying that's official. I know you can get more than less than that, but that's my best guess at it. And then the ghost rares were 1 in 228, which is approximately 1 in every 9.5 boxes. In the new configuration, you're guaranteed a rare and at least a super in every pack, and a chance for an ultra or secret instead of that super. So that's really good for the game in some ways and not great in other ways, but we'll get into that in a minute. So if you're looking at rarities per box, under the old system you were going to get about 4.8 supers, 2 ultras, normally a secret, sometimes 2, about 1.2 ultimate rares. Again, that's going with the approximation I used, and you get a ghost rare in about 1 every 9.5 boxes. Under the new system, you're guaranteed 24 rares and then 24 foils, depending on which ones they are. It looks like it's going to be about 18 supers, 4 ultras, and 2 secrets. So you're getting 3.75 times as many supers. That's this last column over here. 3.75 times as many supers, 2 times as many ultras, and a little under 2 times as many secrets. So I was looking at this and trying to think of how this is going to affect card prices. So I took some examples right out of Clash Rebellions, and all I'm doing is dividing the current secondary market price by the ratio of the new secrets to the old secrets. So for Mistaken Arrest, it's $20 now, but if we're going to assume that there's 1.923 times as many secrets in every box, and then we can expand that to the whole game, a Mistaken Arrest would be about a $10.40 card if there was more quantity of it. That's just a projection. I'm not saying cards are going to be like that, but I mean, can you imagine if we were under the system right now and Farm Girl was $22.50 instead of $55? I think it's a lot more Cosmo, because there are a lot of people that really like the deck but can't afford to drop, $175, $180 on just the Farm Girls alone. And then I did supers as well. The $9 Luster Pendulum would be $2.40 under the new ratios. That's pretty reasonable, honestly. I mean, for a super especially, you're not going to find many more money supers at all. The Luster Pendulum's the most expensive super we've had since, I think, Shadow Fusion, and I don't want to be quoted on that, but Shadow Fusion's been $8 to $10 since it came out for the most part, and Luster Pendulum sits right around there, but we haven't had any supers top that in God knows how long. So if we're assuming that the expensive supers under the new system will be like $2 or $3, that's really affordable for most players. So if we're thinking about what this means for the game, in general, newer sets will have fewer money cards. So you won't see the Ghost Ogres that are going to be, $60, $75, $80 even at one point. And the ones that are money cards will be less expensive. You won't see cards going for $150 and $100 if they're following this new configuration. And yes, this is all assuming before short prints, but even if we assume the current short prints, there's twice as many secrets, twice as many cards. It is going to be less expensive. And I think we're going to see a shift in the coming months, in the coming years, I guess. I think a lot of old players will be coming back to the game when they see the new decks that they can build pretty cheaply. Because if I was currently on a hiatus from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I see, what are the best decks? Well, there's Necros, which is expensive, Burning Mist, which is expensive, Cosmo, expensive, Shadows, I guess relatively expensive. That's probably one of the cheaper ones of the meta, but you get the picture. There's no $100 decks that you can go out and really compete with. And I think it'll also be bought by a lot of current players that will see it and think, at the very least I'm adding at least one foil to my collection with every pack. See, I've never liked to buy booster boxes because of the ratios. I'm essentially paying $60 for between 7 and 10 foil cards, and I need to get, doing some quick math, it's like $8 to $10 a piece out of them in order just to get my money back even. And that's not really likely with a lot of the cards. So I think that these are going to sell a lot better than they're currently selling. So then I took a second to think about the effects that's going to have on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market. First off, we got to look at the primary market. That it would be buying sealed product from stores, who I guess in turn buy from wholesalers and distributors. But for now, we're going to focus on tournament stores because that's where most people will buy cards. I guess they also buy in department stores and stuff, but if we're looking specifically at tournament stores, the card shops are going to sell a lot more sealed products because of the wider audience that they're appealing to with these. Players are attracted to shiny things. I will admit to being a rarity whore. I love to have ultimates instead of ultras, which I can't have ultimates anymore, but I love having the shiniest version of a card. Not necessarily the most expensive, but I like them to be pretty. So there's a lot more foils. I don't think I would mind if they rarity bumped things. If they did this for Clash of Rebellions, I probably would have had no problem with Forerunner and Slip Rider and Cosmotown all being a super, because they're pretty much going to be like rares. You can get them for the same price because they're about the same quantity of them. And I'm estimating, of course, that there's 18 supers in a box, but there's only 14 in a set, and there's 24 rares in a box, but 20 in a set. It's approximately the same ratio. So I don't think supers will be much of anything at all. But yeah, I would love to see those Cosmo decks shiny out. But I think we'll probably see that in the coming tournament packs. But I would say this is a good thing because if you're selling more sealed products, the stores themselves are going to grow. And if they're growing, then the community grows and you have more and more players and the game just gets bigger and bigger. I think that's a really good move for Konami in that respect. As far as the secondary market goes, that's going to see a negative turn. For the guys like me that run eBay stores in which we sell single cards that we pick up at tournaments and trade value or pick them up in boxes or whatever, it's going to be a lot harder for us to do anything money-wise because if you can't sell a Ghost Ogre for $60 and instead the best secret out of the set's 15, it's going to be a lot harder to make a good profit off the game or at least make enough money to keep playing. The same goes for people who have big binders full of all the newest cards. That's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to move anymore. The only good news with respect to that is that any card that's currently in existence really isn't going to be bothered by those ratios. It's just really the newer cards. But I think as far as trading a tournament goes, the binders will be a lot fuller if people are getting a guaranteed foil in every pack. So there'll be a lot more trading, a lot more positive interactions between players at tournaments. And there are a lot of people who have good commons that they won't put in their binder just because it's common. So it's a lot more fuller binder to look at, and even though it might not necessarily be money cards, it's going to be a lot more trading going on. I do think that the older cards that support the themes that come out will remain in price, similar to how Summoner's Art jumped way up when Cleaforts came out. I think as we get future sets that have archetypes and different themes that work with older cards, those older cards will either rise in price or they won't see much of a change, so that is an encouraging sign. And lastly, the effects on the tournament setting. I think this is a really good thing for competition of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you think about it in a macroscopic view. A lot of the younger players and the people that may not spend as much money on the game as some of the top competitors will have a lot better chance to compete if there are tier 1 and competitive decks that all the foils are under $10. You don't see a lot of young, new, low-budget players in any of those categories sitting down at a tournament with 3 Dantes and 3 Mistake and Arrest, and you just don't see a ton of that. They're competitive cards and they're competitive decks, but you really don't see that out of the newer or less experienced players. I would expect going forward that more people will play the newer decks. It has always been a pretty much recurring theme that whenever a deck comes out, a lot of people start to play it, but then kind of fall off whenever the next new deck comes out. I think that'll probably still continue, but then there have always been the standards of tournament that have been around for a couple of years, and those old decks that just continue to be able to compete for no good reason. Personally, I played against, pretty recently, someone who's playing Karakuri. I mean, that deck's old as shit, and like, he could still do things with it. It was a competitive game. It was a fun game, too. So I think those are actually going to fall off a little bit because a lot of people that play those decks, Yosenju, Evil Swarm, Samurai, Light Swarm, Karakuri, you name it, Gravekeepers, a lot of people that play those classic decks tend to do so because they don't want to pay or cannot afford to pay for the current tier 1 decks. And I'm not saying there aren't people that play them because they think they're good or think they're a good meta call, but for the most part that's what you see other people playing those decks. And lastly, this is a point that I thought about a little bit, but I'm not sure if it's actually going to apply. If people are buying these sets because the decks are cheap and easy to make and decent to play, you might also be able to kind of decrease power creep. Konami is going to sell a lot more of these sealed products, so they don't need to worry about making the next deck that's broken as can be, so people buy it. Then they don't have to really focus on making it better than the last as long as it's competitive with the current. And that's something I'm curious to see if Konami does that. I guess they're going to base it on the sales of their first couple sets under the system, but I think that's a legitimate possibility that could really help the game because no one likes to get power creeped and have their old cards devalued. But if the new sets are cheap and the new decks are cheap, why not play them? Alright, so that's all I got for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I've got a couple of videos planned for you guys coming up. I'm going to try to be posting some more. I've been involved with moving the past couple of months, so finally settled down and able to make some videos. So I think that's all I got for you guys. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Thanks for watching. See you later.